Good morning, dear students. Today we'll be discussing exploratory research, and this would be the last topic of Unit 1. Before discussing exploratory research, let us discuss what qualitative and quantitative research is, because this is going to help you identify whether you should be going for exploratory research or not, plus how exploratory research would be conducted. Exploratory versus descriptive versus conclusive. How is it different? Generally, qualitative means qualitative data. It might not include numbers, or you might have to generate data through qualitative data. You might generate numbers with the help of quality of the data. And quantitative research, quantitative data is generally in numbers. So we are talking about exploratory research. That means we are talking about qualitative research. Qualitative research would most of the times, 99% times, would include qualitative data and would result in qualitative data. But whereas when we talk about quantitative research, this means we are talking about descriptive research or conclusive research, where numbers are very, very important. Then small versus large samples. In general, we go for small samples. In case of exploratory studies, these are basically for the purpose of knowing how basically should the research be conducted, or to know the actual problem lying in the organization, if we are talking about a business organization, right? Then broad range of questioning versus structured questionnaire. When we talk about exploratory study, that means we are very much unclear about the problem. That is why we are doing it. So structured questions would not be possible at this particular time. So you'll be having broad range of questions, and you will be exploring that whether these questions are right or not. That is also one part of exploratory research. Structured questions are generally a part of descriptive or conclusive, or we say causal research. Last is subjective interpretation versus statistical analysis. Subjective interpretation means you will be analyzing the things on the basis of your own understanding, and would be giving the interpretation on the basis of whatever data you have in your hand. And this data would most of the times would be qualitative when it comes to exploratory research. Versus statistical analysis. Statistical analysis is generally done in further studies, descriptive or conclusive. But when it comes to exploratory study, we are most of the times going for subjective interpretation. Exploratory research basically is the initial research conducted to clarify and define the nature of a problem. It does not provide any conclusive evidence, and subsequent research is expected after that. We generally go for exploratory research in a manner so as to identify a few things, so as to understand the problem in a better way, and then go with another research, or say then go with further research. For example, exploratory researchers can be creative in their research for ideas. For example, a beeper study, you might have heard of it. Researchers who conduct beeper studies provide consumers or business subjects with a questionnaire and instruct them to record their actions, their interactions, their moods and stress levels as soon as beeper goes off. Because whenever your tension level is somewhat abnormal, or maybe your mood is different from the normal, or your interaction and actions are different than usual, then beeper would go off. And this is just a normal situation. But if you are being creative, you can ask your clients to use disposable cameras or video cameras, so as to record as well as at the time of variation of beeper, so that you actually come to know what kind of the problem was faced by the client. Exploratory research is generally a preliminary step that helps ensure that a more rigorous, more conclusive future study will not begin with an inadequate understanding of the nature of management problem. This helps you to actually realize what the problem is and how it should be proceeded. Conclusive research generally answer questions of the fact necessary to determine a course of action, but this is never the purpose of exploratory research. The exploratory research would definitely answer your questions, but at this stage, we generally have qualitative questions and we'll be getting qualitative answers. Exploratory research provides qualitative data, and it provides greater understanding of a concept rather than providing you conclusive evidence. We just talked about this, right? Most exploratory researches are not quantitative in nature, they would be qualitative, and they would give you qualitative results. They will not be providing you results in numbers. They will be telling you whether this study is good or not, what are the consequences, what are the factors affecting this study, and so many things related to that, or everything qualitative, no quantitative result. Then what is exploratory research? We already discussed this, but this is very important question. Sometimes you get an exam whether this is quantitative research or qualitative research, and what kind of data is needed in exploratory research, quantitative or qualitative data. We maximum number of times we will be getting qualitative data, and sometimes when we use quantitative data, that is not actually used as quantity of the data, but this would be like, for example, you are reading the annual report of a company and you are even checking profits are quantitative in nature, but still you are trying to check the quality of profits and quality related to the organization. You are trying to study that annual report, you are not actually checking the profits only. So that is we consider that annual report as a kind of qualitative data when we prepare ourselves to start studying a company. When I need to check a company, I need to study a company or analyze something about it, first step would be to check its annual report, to study about the company. And when I am reading annual report, I will be going through some quantitative data as well, but I will be having a look at that particular data also as in qualitatively, right? So basically qualitative data is needed and we will be getting qualitative answers and result. Why we conduct exploratory research? Now we know how what kind of data we'll be needing, what kind of the answers we'll be getting. Now the question is how we will be conducting exploratory research and why we will be conducting exploratory research. So why? Number one, to diagnose a situation. How would you diagnose a situation? By reading about it thoroughly. Like I just mentioned, if I need to check a company's records or a company's performance, or I need to do some study on a company, what I'll be doing, I will be studying its annual report. And annual report of a company comprises of A to Z information about the company. I will be reading some more documents as well, but still I will be starting with some basic information of the company. So diagnosing the situation is, I will try to diagnose the situation. I will try to read everything about that. For example, when an advertisement agency got the account for a new coffee that contained chicory, the firm's researchers began with exploratory research to diagnose the situation. They learned that almost nobody had heard of chicory. So it was not being used and users seemed to know nothing about it. So this led to the hypothesis that advertising could portray the chicory ingredient any way the client wanted for their own good, right? So sometimes problem is not very big, but we take it as a very big problem. So for that only we need to diagnose a situation, that what kind of situation we are in, so that we can actually help ourselves in research in a better way. Then screening of alternatives. How would you be screening the alternatives and why do we need it? See, we have so many alternatives available for exploratory research. We can go for all the alternatives. We can conduct exploratory research in all the manners, but no, sometimes we don't have time. We have to check how much cost it is going to involve. So for that, we go for alternative search. We will be screening all the alternatives. how much it is costing, how much time it would be taking, and on the basis of that we'll be able to check that yes, this is the right method to go for research. And exploratory research gives you such answers so that you can conduct your either descriptive or causal research without any nuisance. Screening of alternatives would give you one more term. There's a term called concept testing. Exploratory research procedures that test some sort of stimulus as a proxy for an idea about a new revised or repositioned product. Sometimes we need to know whether this product launch is a good one or not. Sometimes we just want to check that whether this market is perfect for your product launch or not. So for that you can go for concept testing. This is also a part of screening of alternatives. And how would you screen alternatives in this case? In the case of concept testing, you'll be checking which market is a good one to launch the product, which market would give me better results or immediate results as such, right? And what should be the size of the market. That can be checked through screening of alternatives. Then last is discover new ideas. Yes, by going through annual report of a company, I might get to know something which might be interesting about the company, which tells me so many things about the company which company has not noticed yet. So sometimes this might lead to discovery of new ideas as well, and that might give a very different angle to the whole research sometimes. So categories of exploratory research. How can we conduct? Till now, what we have discussed, what is actually exploratory research, then by exploratory research now, how would we conduct exploratory research? For that, we need to first of all know what are the categories of exploratory research, then we'll be discussing them one by one. Number one, experience surveys, then secondary data analysis, case studies, and pilot studies. Let us discuss them one by one. Experience surveys. What do you mean by experience surveys? Ask knowledgeable individuals about a particular research problem. Most of them are quite willing. When you know that there is a person, there are actually agencies as well, and there are few people who have experienced some surveys and you are working on a similar problem, then you can go and ask them about their experiences and how did they actually do that. And believe me, when you meet experienced people, they are actually willing to share their experiences. They generally share it. They don't say no to you that they don't want to discuss it or not. They generally are willing to share their experiences, and when they share their experiences, you get new insights into the problem you are actually facing right now. If you wish to know the road up to the mountain, you must ask the man who goes back and forth on it. This is the very beautiful example of experience surveys. Who have already experienced the path, that person would be able to tell you beautifully that how to go with the same thing. Then secondary data analysis. What is secondary data analysis? The data which is already collected by somebody else, or that somebody else might be an individual, maybe a company, agency, or anything, right? The data we already have, the data or maybe the information which is already being generated for a similar kind of project, that is basically secondary data. And how would you analyze the data now? First of all, let us understand it with few examples. Data collected for a purpose other than the project at hand. Suppose I want to study a company called Infosys, right? I want to study about its current project, and if I need secondary data for that particular company, what I'll be doing, I'll be using its annual report, or maybe the report when they launch some other they have recently launched another product, right? So this is actually the data which was actually collected for another project, but not for this one, right? But this is really helpful. Then secondary data is actually economical. This is really economical because this is available online these days. You can collect the data without any exactly any cost, because you just need internet connection and either a mobile phone or laptop to read it. And of course, when you are doing research, you would be having these basic amenities with you. You don't have to spend any extra penny for these. I mean, you don't have to go and buy the annual report. You don't have to go and buy the data at least. Then quick source of background information. Yes, this is a quick source for background information about any project, because when you know that some data is available, you will be quickly reading that and you will be getting an insight about that. That is really more helpful than actually generating everything by yourself. Then case study method. Case study is it intensely investigates one or a few situations similar to the problem. For example, if you want to, if you want to work on, or you want to survey among union workers, then you might then you might first look at few union locals to identify the nature of any problem or topic that should be investigated. If you will be having a look at other unions which you are not actually going to study, you'll get some insights that how union works and how the leader works, how people behave in those unions. When you'll get to know about these things, then it would be easy for you to study and decide what might be the factors and everything related to your own study on unions. And it investigate in depth. When you go for a case study method, when I know that I'll be working on union workers, I'll not just read one case study about union workers. I might read thousands of case studies, maybe 5 case studies, 10 case studies, 20 case studies, and I'll know a lot more about union workers rather than actually going into the field. Then it's a careful study. Yes, you have to carefully study these case studies, otherwise you will not get anything in that. And this might require cooperation. Sometimes you might have to go and ask the union workers, when you know that so and so case study is being done on that particular company, and you know that you can easily assess them, you can go and talk to them about the same, because this is actually going to add more to your case study help. Then pilot study. This is actually a collective term, pilot study. We'll be seeing how we can go with pilot study. We can do a pilot study with so many alternatives available. This can be done through so many things, through so many alternatives. This is basically any small scale exploratory study that uses sampling. When I talk about pilot study in case of exploratory study, this is actually a small scale study, small scale exploratory study. We are going to do the same thing on a very small scale, so that it doesn't cost much and we can just know like whether this is a feasible project or not. So pilot studies are basically for knowing the feasibility of the project. But the term pilot studies covers a number of diverse research techniques. We'll be studying them one by one, but it does not apply rigorous standards. Yes, it will not be applying every kind of the standard, like this much be the sample size should be this, unit should be this. This will not go with rigorous standards. This we just apply a small experiment on very small scale and just get to know whether this would be feasible or not in long run, or for a large scale exploratory study. Pilot studies. Number one, it can be a focus group interviews. We'll be discussing it in detail. Then projective techniques and in-depth interviews. Let us start with focus group interviews. These are generally unstructured, free-flowing, and sort of group interviews. These start with broad topic and focus in on specific issues. This will not be starting with actual topic, actual small topic, no. This group generally consists of 6 to 10 people. You can form a group and then start with the focus group interview. Then relatively homogeneous. We'll be considering people with like thinking, like minded, and with similar backgrounds, and then similar lifestyles and similar experiences, so as to get one particular point, so as to get the crux of the interview. Outline for a focus group would be: establish a rapport, then begin with broad topic, and then focus in on specific topic, then generate discussion and interaction. You'll be starting with one broad topic, and then you'll go in and start focusing on one specific topic you want to know about. And for that you have to establish a rapport with the whole group. The establishing a rapport would be done by a moderator. There would be a moderator for focus group interview, and then generate discussion and interaction. In the last, you will be generating a discussion and interaction report. Yes, this all would be done by moderator. Moderator would be taking care of the thing that the question in hand would be answered. He develops the rapport and help people relax. Whenever there is argument in the group, that moderator would intervene. He will interact with the people, all the performers in the group, so as to help them going towards the same topic he wants answer for. Then listens to what people have to say. He has to listen to people very carefully. Then he will make sure that and everyone gets a chance to speak. For example, there might be a person in the group who is not talking much, who is not sharing his views. Then moderator can help in that. And focus group moderator maintains loose control and focuses discussion. He will maintain a control, but not 100%. And then he will be focusing on discussion. He will try to take discussion towards the topic he wants to actually discuss, then stimulate spontaneous responses. Then streaming media, how does it help? For example, in COVID times, we can go with online focus group discussions as well. This will help us meeting people online. But there are some advantages of online focus group. This is very fast, this is inexpensive, you don't have to invite anyone, and you'll be getting answers very fast. You can actually start meeting, and in the end you'll be having all the results in your hand. Then it brings together many participants from widespread geographical areas. Yes, it's very inexpensive for asking people to participate, so that means you can invite people around the world. Then respondent anonymity, yes, you can maintain that. You can ask people not to put their videos on, and you can ask people not to put their names on that, and they'll be just answering the question, right? So in that case, you can actually hide, you can actually not disclose the name of the respondent. Then transcript automatically recorded. That yes, we have softwares these days. For example, if you are conducting a meeting on Zoom, Google Meet, you can actually record that and listen to it even after the discussion. But there are some disadvantages as well. For example, less group interaction. Sometimes in some softwares interaction is little less, and some people are not 100% comfortable with the software, then that might lead you to less group discussion. Then absence of tactile stimulation, absence of facial expression, because we are trying to hide the respondent identity. And then body language is also not known. We don't know whether the person is getting angry on this particular thing, or he's giving aggressive result, or he's giving the response normally, and so many other things. Then moderator's job is different here. He might not be able to moderate the whole discussion in a better way. Then some projective techniques. Projective techniques are word association test, sentence completion method, third person technique, and role playing. Let us discuss them one by one. For example, word association. Subject is presented with a list of words, and he'll be recognizing the what comes next in his mind. For example, ask to respondent with first word that comes to his mind. Word association examples. Green. What comes in your mind? Grass. Examples are money, lawn, eggs, and ham. Maybe lawn, grass, something like that. Then sentence completion. People who drink beer are dash dash dash. You can complete them. A man who drinks light beer is dash dash. Imported beer is most likely liked by dash. Women will drink beer when dash. These also helps in finding the actual problem in a better way. This also is a kind of exploratory research. Then experience surveys, or we can call it as in-depth interviews. In-depth interviews with some experienced people. We have already discussed this in another way. Experience survey, in-depth interview is also almost same as experience surveys. You will be talking to experienced people about the same problem so as to come closer to the problem definition. Let us discuss some questions. Quantitative research is used most often in exploratory research. Is it? Read it carefully once again. Quantitative research is most often used in exploratory research. No, it's false, because in exploratory research we use qualitative research. Then second is primary advantage of the case study is that an entire organization or entire entity can be investigated in depth. Is it? Let me read it again. A primary advantage of the case study is that an entire organization or entity can be investigated in depth. Yes, you can, because you can actually choose one person from every team so as to investigate the whole organization in depth. So it is again true. Focus group typically involves a rigid question and answer session among participants. Is it? No, it requires very, very loose control. So there is no rigid question and answer session. So it's a false. Focus groups are relatively fast and easy to execute. Yes, they are really very fast and easy to execute. So answer is true. Next is the ideal size of a focus group is 20 to 25 people. Is it? No, ideal size of a focus group is 6 to 10 people. So it is false. Last is a focus group moderator needs to be a good listener. Is it? Yes, he should be a very good listener. Then only he'll be able to moderate the group beautifully. Let us have some questions. Self-assessment questions. Number 1, compare and contrast qualitative research and quantitative research and discuss situations in which qualitative research is useful. We have started this presentation with the same thing. You can discuss some examples on qualitative and quantitative research, and qualitative research is useful in most exploratory research. Second question, name and briefly describe four qualitative research orientations. Yes, you have to do it by yourself. I'm not going to discuss it. 4 qualitative research orientations, you have to discuss them. You can take any example. Third, describe a focus group interview and discuss the advantages and disadvantages of this technique. We already discussed that in the slides, that what is focus group interview and how would you conduct it, and there are 2 different slides for advantages and disadvantages as well. Then list the elements of a focus group discussion guide. What are the elements for focus group discussion guide? Though I have mentioned it, but still you will be welcoming people in the start. Welcome and introduction should take place first. Then begin with the interview of a broad topic. Then questions will become increasingly more specific, right? If needs arise, moderator will intervene and make a report with them. Then if there is a specific objective to be accomplished, that question should probably be saved for last, and that should actually be answered. Then debriefing statement should be provided, providing respondents with the actual focus group objectives and answering any questions if they have, right? though it is mentioned in the PPT as well. And last is, do exploratory research approaches using qualitative research tools have a role in scientific inquiry? Yes, they do have. And explain why a decision may be based solely on these results. This can be done with the help of an example. Go and do some research on your own and then answer them. That would help you to understand this in a better way. Thank you. This was the last topic of your unit 1. Here we are done with unit 1. We'll be starting with unit 2 in our next videos. Thank you.